Nah, I got too much to do. No time for an intro. Let's kick it over to. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. Today we're going to be painting up Veers. Why are we painting up Veers? Well, several of us here at the office are going to be building armies over the course of the next month or so. We're going to build 800-point armies. If you remember back in May, 4 of us did this as well, and now we're doing it again. We're building new armies. So I'm building Imperial. Schick is doing some droids. Plumber's doing some rebels, and one Mr. William Pagani is doing clones. Did I get that right? Maybe I got that backwards. I think Plumber's doing clones. Pagani's doing rebels. I had that backwards. So I built my list, and I'm starting with my Veers, and we're going to do I'm going to paint a little different today. I'm going to try to go more studio level. So a little bit different paint philosophy. I still primed it in zenithal, but I'm going to be trying to make it a little tighter, a little more. I might not get this done in hours, what I'm saying. So let's kick it to main cam. We got lots to cover today. Start the questions, and let's get going. I got to click that, and then I click this. And we're on the minicam. I need my light. And the light. Boom, there's some Veers. So we got Veers. I got him all prepped earlier, and we're going to paint him up. And I've been told that this Imperial green is very, very difficult to replicate. So we're going to try and do that live here today. So I like starting with the face because I always want to get like a feel for the character. I want to get that personality on there. And I'm just mixing up sort of a skin tone. I just got a couple different colors out on the wet palette, and I just want to get something that feels right. I have some images up for reference that I'm going to be going back and forth to over the course of the paint job to make sure I stay accurate. I am rocking a double ATST list. Which I'm very excited for. I love vehicles, I love tanks, and I love big robots, and an ATST is literally all those things mixed together combined. So super excited to build up an ATST list. Eagles, I've always wondered if you start with your mid-tone, shade, highlight around the color you picked. I do, it depends. Typically, I'm mixing up some colors, so not much happening on screen. I apologize. I'm just going to grab a couple colors over here, and we're going to try to mix up our Imperial green color for his uniform. It's a little more gray, it's a little more green. Depending on the lighting in the image, it kind of shifts. So we're just going to play with that. It feels a little too green. Let's start with that. So anyways, yeah, it depends there. Eagles, a lot of times I pick a mid-tone and then I shade and highlight based around that. Other times I have been known to go kind of the opposite way, where I kind of put in a highlight first and then I do nothing but shade. So I kind of paint a lot of different ways. I don't have a hard, fast rule. For beginners, if you're a beginner, I do recommend picking that mid-tone and building around that. It's a little bit easier to comprehend and plan than going in with a highlight and trying to shade everything around a highlight. That takes much more planning. So once you get more comfortable and confident in your painting, maybe try that. Tony and I were actually discussing the other day, yesterday morning in the office, the different approaches to art and the different way artists think about art. That color does not feel right. That doesn't quite feel right. I feel like it needs a little blue in there. See if we can get a little blue. I'm just going to grab a bunch of weird random colors. But the different ways artists approach art, and it was a fun, interesting conversation. I'm very much there's the version of artists that kind of gut check, go, make it up on the fly. And that's very much me. And then Tony is sort of the opposite. Tony is a very much more practiced and nuanced, likes a lot of information. Whoa, excuse me, big sneeze. Woo, 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 woo. Needs to be darker. Oh, we'll get darker. It'll get darker. We're just getting we're just establishing some colors here. Some very broad midtones. Anyways, I'm sort of a jump in head first, kind of get in there, get it done, learn on the fly. Tony's more of a practice, make sure all of his ducks in a row kind of painter, artist. So that was a fun conversation. So I think this will be a nice start. This will all get darker. As we go. And then I'm going to look at my little reference here. And the armor is much more blue with a little touch of green. Not quite that. Yeah, I want to use that as a starting point. We're going to bring this down. This is all just... If you've watched me paint before, the color I start with is rarely the color we end with. It's a bunch of shading and highlighting that changes the tone and of the miniature. Yeah, the Imperial Army, like, you kind of think of it being dark, but when you look at like a lot of references, it's a much more peaty color, and all depends on the lighting that you're looking at it in. Just do another quick layer there. Now we want to shade the face. Now to shade the face, I use greens and reds. DRB probably. I would use a lot of the same colors. I've not painted Tarkin yet, so I would need a Grand Moff Tarkin. That dude is dope. There was a question, I missed it. Yeah, Simone will change dice rolls right in the middle of a game. There's no fairness there. Okay, got a little green. And I'm going to put this in all the little shadowy bits. Now, the reason I use green and red is if you look at skin tones, there's a lot, especially in Caucasian skin tones, there's a lot of green. But even darker skin tones tend to have some green as well, depending on how dark. And then there's always some warmth. There's always some reds happening. So you want to like play with those colors. Just a little dot of Huldra blue. We're going to mix it in there. We want to desaturate that just a touch with a little bit of black. So I think on these armor plates, I am going to kind of go with the first color is the highlight. And the second color, this is kind of creating more of a mid-tone. Use that second brush to soften that edge. I'm just going to be patient and work my way around the miniature. I'll probably add a little green to this in a little bit. Just sort of establishing some shade and highlight with those blue tones first. Right now it's a little blue. Yeah, the color is all over the place. Like literally, it changes color just scene to scene based on lighting. They are very tricky colors. Like the uniform has this greenish tone that shifts gray a lot. So it's a very, very tricky color to work with. And I don't think you need to get it perfect. Like, you need to get the emotional correctness out of it. I mean, this is a little tiny 1-inch tall miniature. So replicating stuff is tricky. Light literally works different on a miniature. So replicating in color, you can get the overall sense, but shadow and highlight's going to change a lot of it. So I don't try to replicate stuff in miniature. I just want to get emotionally close, if that makes sense. You have so much more information you're trying to convey in miniature than if it was like a full prop, right? If this was a shirt, right? Just a real life shirt, you have all this information. It's very big, covers a big flat area. But in miniature, you have this little tiny amount of space to work in. And you need all that information. You need every wrinkle, every shadow. And you have a very limited amount of space to present that information. And it really just needs to look good from a distance. So that's the big thing is miniatures just work different. And remembering that is very, very important. So I'm going to use my red now. I'm going to use a little art glaze, a little art medium. And this makes my paint more translucent. Now I want to use this over top of the greens. Green and red mixed together makes brown, so green over red makes a brown color. My Veers, what deep sockets you have. I'll let that dry. Go back to my reference. So the shadows go more green. And the highlights go more blue in the armor. So I'm going to mix a little more green in there. I'm going to darken it up. I love these little armor plates because they don't have to be perfectly blended. And the reference I'm using is when Veers is commanding the AT-AT on Hoth. So if you want to go check out that scene and look at the armor plate, and you can see what I'm seeing, like the broad areas have a green, and then as it moves into the highlight, it turns to a blue. So we're going to just put a little bit of that green into that armor. Oh, don't panic over the color. No need for precision. I always say, the Andromeda Galaxy is coming. Why do I gotta be precise? I ain't got time for that. I gotta prepare for Andromeda crashing into the Milky Way. Not to get all existential. We're going to darken this up as well. This green. Hello, budgies. Sup, sup, sup. Let's mix our green and our red together for our flesh tones. Green and red together, mix brown. We're going to do another shade on the flesh. I have taught a lot of people how to paint. We're just darkening up the shadows on the face. And back to the armor. This is typically how I paint when I'm thinking about a more studio version. I kind of jump around and let something dry and then go back and where I was at. And I tend to work in a lot of little layers. I want to create a lot of visual depth. So I don't try to get anything right in just one coat. Like, yep, that's the color, nailed it. That's not how I think. Like, color is such a deep and rich thing. So like I like to establish a lot of interest in my colors. You know, when you look at a yellow car, you know, next time you're walking through the parking lot at the grocery store, look at cars and look at the colors in them. They're never just, that's a yellow car. There's all these other colors happening within that yellow car. There might be a little bit of red or brown or some green, some turquoise. And all those colors combined is what makes things feel lively and alive and real. If it's just a flat color, that's what feels like a cartoon or, you know, a cell shade. I like going for a more realistic to some extent, but exaggerated because it's miniature approach. That is really close. I feel like I can get a little darker and a little lighter in some spots, but some terrain prep studios, absolutely. Absolutely. That'd be fun. How does this apply to painting white or black? The exact same, actually. Eagles. I've done white painting armor. If you watched it in May, like I was saying earlier, we did a May painting challenge where several of us painted a 500-point army in 1 month for Legion. I did some clones, the Lucky 13s, and I talked a lot about the philosophy of painting white. And white is white's the exact same way. White has every color bouncing back at you, right? So you want to integrate that into your white painting. So you need a lot of colors coming back into your eye to establish that and to create visual interest. Black is the same way. When I paint something black, I very rarely paint with just black paint. It's very, very rare. I just throw on black paint. I usually add a tone. So green or red or blue or purple, something into the black, and then create some undertone to the black, and definitely highlight with something other than gray. Sometimes I do go gray. Sometimes I just, sometimes it's blue. But adding colors to those, to white or black, makes them more rich and alive and sharp and visually interesting, which is super important in miniatures. Like I said, you have a very small amount of space to create or to give information, so you want to maximize it, So using chromatic whites and chromatic blacks can help get you there. Just darkening up his little costume, his little imperial green grays. So I think the trick here will be getting more of that green into the highlight. Do I wash the miniatures before priming them? I don't. I do not. I don't think I ever have ever. Unless you feel something on it, that's different. Like if you feel something goopy on your miniature, you should probably wash it. But I typically do not wash my miniatures. Especially things like hard plastic, like there's nothing to wash off. Really? There's no mold release. Resin and metal miniatures can have mold release. But hard plastic miniatures just pop out of a steel mold, so there's nothing really on them. I've definitely taken a resin miniature straight out of a mold fresh and just painted it. See, now we're darkening into that. And we're going to add some more green to that highlight to get that peat olive tone. Am I a raccoon? I like to think that my Patronus would be a majestic sea otter, but deep down inside I know I'm a dirty trash panda Patronus. I know. Alright, I want to go a little darker on that armor shadow. just a bit. So I said I'm painting this more studio-y. If I was really painting for studio level, this one miniature would probably take me probably 2 8-hour days, maybe one, depending on what I try to do. But I don't have that kind of time. I got other things to do. So I'm gonna try to get a good effect as quick as possible. If you've been noticing on this armor, I'm going back and forth between blues and greens. That's what's going to give that shift. Like I said, if you look at the reference of Veers, his armor, it's always shifting between the colors depending on the scene you look at and the lighting. So it kind of slides between blue and green a lot. And it definitely at the highlights definitely becomes very, very baby blue, and the shadows has this green. So for me as a painter, constantly switching back and forth between those colors, alternating, I'm creating that shift myself. Just sort of blocking in that sort of tonal shift where your eye can't quite pick up. Is it green? Is it blue? Is it green? Is it blue? What's a little bit of both? It's a little bit of both. Kind of goes all over the place. It's just like the uniform. Is it green? Is it gray? It's a little bit of both. So I'm going to play with a little bit of both. I'm going to mix greens and grays together. I'm going to darken, lighten. I'm going to add some color to create. I'm going to add a light blue to kind of create like a. That's too light. That's too light. You just mess around, you find the right spot. What else is in my list? I have Stormies and 2 ATSTs and then I'm painting up some of the Imperial Specialists as like options. So I do have my little, ooh, hello there. Calm down. So I do have my little Imperial droid as well. For studio painters, do y'all give them a set time of when to have new stuff painted for box art? Oh yeah, absolutely. Everybody's got deadlines. Everybody's got deadlines. Secret to be a good studio painter. like there's a few tips I got for studio painters. First, be a good miniature builder. Can't build a good house without a good foundation. Second, be timely. You know, speed was the one thing I focused on. When I was a studio painter, I always focused on speed. I wanted to get the next project out and done, right? Because that needs to go to photography, it needs to go to graphic design, it needs to go to different approval steps. There's so many other people after the paint job, but the paint job is the thing that kind of sort of takes the longest for a studio manager. It's kind of where everything else sort of stems from. So that studio painters really wants to focus on speed and just accuracy. Being able to replicate something and have a good eye is real essential. Sundancer missed some streams. Oh no. There could have been fun stuff happening in those streams. You never know. I do love talking about studio painting and like what it takes. It's such an interesting job, and you know, it's not something that it's a job that there's not a lot of folks in the world that can do what is needed of a studio painter. You know, it's not just coming in and painting whatever you want. It's a much bigger job than that. Let's do some little highlights on this fella. Across there. It's like another one of those jobs that nobody thinks about and is so important and vital is like terrain makers. Such a huge part of miniatures is the terrain that goes around it, especially for us, right? Those big tables that we play on, and we want to show off the miniatures, the ones we do photography on. You've seen them in the teaser videos or just photography, right? Like those are super important, and it's not something that a lot of people focus on as a career, and it's unfortunate because it's such a beautiful and interesting art. Something I'm always looking for is somebody that can build tables. So I don't know, it's just always interesting seeing people actually working on pursuing those kind of endeavors. Throw a little 5 o'clock shadow on this fella. Veers has been out in the battle. He hasn't had time to shave lately. What we got here? DRB 1979 for studio painters. The hiring someone who has the love of the source material is advantaged because of their love of material, or disadvantaged because of the desire to be perfect due to the material. Well, perfect is a trap. That's my opinion. Perfect is a trap. That's how they get you. I think the love of source material is very important. I think everybody here at AMG has a deep love for everything that we work on and the source materials of everything we work on. But you're also, at the end of the day, you are kind of making a thing. You still have a job. You still have a deadline. It's still, all these things, and those have to be taken in, those factors have to be taken into consideration. Got to meet those deadlines. Still got stuff to. Got to get them out the door. Got to get them out the door. What are we talking about here? Do you ever paint the front of a Mini for a photo? No. Absolutely not. If someone presented me with a front-only painted miniature, I would immediately reject it and make them go back and paint it. I don't think anybody's ever even tried that on me. Anybody I worked with, I think they know better. We need more ladies with lightsabers. I agree. I agree. I mean, we just need more lightsabers. What is more? Oh, just curious. What is more advantageous? I don't think either one's advantageous. It's a finding studio painters. It's like finding unicorns. I mean, I'm always looking for studio painters. Always, I'm always looking for people to paint for us, and we're always looking for people to sculpt for us. We're always looking for people to engineer. We're always on the lookout for talent. Just looking for talent. And studio painters is one that's, it's a hard one to find. You want, Star Wars, you have this IP, you have this, and you have colors that need to be matched. And sometimes that might be counter to the artistic desire of the painter. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's you have a project, and the project has parameters, and you gotta find somebody to do it. All right, we're doing those bright blue highlights. Because that's what I love about this armor is so interesting, right? It's like these bright blue highlights on this green armor. I think I can get away with my little scritches and scratches on this. I think I can. I'm going to do a few. You notice I lean back every now and then. That's me checking the contrast levels. I just sort of lean back and get a broader view to make sure all my contrasts are coming through. This guy's about to give him maximum firepower. Let's focus on this side of the helmet. Always put a little ting of highlight into the shadow. Just a little one. When painting a studio mini, do they paint multiple of the same mini? What do you mean? Like 5 Veers? Do you think Veers' maximum firepower could be more maximized? Maximum firepower. I mean, his name is Maximilian, so he's already kind of Maximilian, maximum firepower, sort of max to the max already. Yeah, I don't understand to paint multiples of minis. Like, we only paint like one character usually, or one mini of each character. Let's darken that one more time. It all depends. So the funny thing about miniatures, every project is a unique sort of puzzle to grok. You know, even like from an engineering standpoint, it's every single miniature is so unique. We always joke that it's like, you know, when you see a miniature and we're discussing it, it's like, oh, the engineering. It's like, that's going to be so easy. That always ends up being the hardest. And then one that we think is just going to be the most difficult always ends up being just the easiest. Because they're all unique puzzles. Like every single one is just a unique little puzzle to kind of figure out. So there's no like step by step, this is how everything works every single time. And I treat that same way when I'm training studio painters. It's like you kind of can't think of these as like, this is how you do this every single time. Each one is a unique individual puzzle to sort of figure out and grasp and make work. The mentor is always asking a question of you, kind of like when Chick was talking about games yesterday. From a game, when playing games and developing games, they're always kind of asking you questions, and that's the interesting part. You know, when the game's not asking you questions on the fly anymore, that's when the game comes in fun. And it's sort of true for like miniatures painting and miniatures design. the miniature is always asking you a question. So you have to listen for what that question is and then figure out the answer, you know? Like, we don't come at every character the exact same way. What color is his gloves? Does he wear red gloves? I know he doesn't wear red gloves. I would assume black. Look at, I don't have reference of his gloves. What color is his gloves? Does anybody know? So now we're going in with that green highlight. They gotta be black, right? Everybody's. Oh, and of course, Hurricane Girl throws me for a loop. Thanks, Hurricane. So many wrinkles. So many wrinkles. Has it been an hour already? Dang. Well, I had fun. Confirmed, definitely black. Hot Rod Flames. Glossy black. Okay, we can do glossy black. But we're almost out of time. So I'm just going to say some words. You can follow along at home. Remember, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday here at Twitch, we stream Atomic Mass Transmissions. Thanks for joining today. Tomorrow, we're going to be back for some gameplay. Do we have confirmation of what we're playing? BK, have we told anybody? I don't even know if I'm playing. Am I playing? I don't even know. Oh, there you go. Tomorrow's X-Wing. So join tomorrow. We're going to be playing some X-Wing. Should be super fun. And if you missed it, we are doing a army painting, army building challenge. Schick, Michael Plummer, Will Pagani, and I are building 800 points of Legion this month. And I am painting Imperials with 2 ATSTs because I love tanks, I love armor, and I love robots. And I know an ATST is not a robot, but it's close enough to a robot for me. And some stormtroopers and Veers, and I got this little droid I'm gonna paint up to go in there. Because once again, robots. It's not a big robot. I mean, it's big in my heart. So I guess that counts. Oops. Made a mistake. Clean it up, clean it up, clean it up. Could have been bad, kids. Could have been bad. Fortunately, I got my eraser brush. Alright, we're just blocking out the rest of these colors. What else do I need to tell him? Did I miss anything? He's almost done. I'm feeling pretty good. Any painting this month on Instagram? Oh, yeah, those will be back up in October. That main extravaganza kind of Viper droid? No. I got this little droid going in there. Dun, 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 dun. Would love to see paint. Oh, what's that guy's name? I know that guy's name. That's not Rex. That miniature from Indoor. Oh man, I know his name. Sorry, it's 2:05, and I'm not gonna stop until I remember that guy's name. Y'all just gonna have to look at my Veers. Might remember that guy's name. Nope. No one's gonna help me. Nick Sant. Boom. Nick Sant. Ah, I'm not painting Rebels, but I'll paint a Nick Sant. That dude is dope. So, anyways,